This morning I'm out in our main garden and doing some work in the spirit of clearing the edges of garden beds so that we have access for pathways. You can see behind me, this is an average view of our mid-season garden. Where are the pathways? Exactly, we can't really get through here. And one area that I'm working on is a black currant patch, and I'm thinking through a way to manage this patch and obtain a yield, get some nice harvest, some good value from it while we do the pruning that needs to be done. I'd like to share notes on that in this video. We've got Stanley keeping an eye on things this morning. Thanks for helping out, my friend. So right in front of me is a black currant. This is a plant we put in maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. Over the years, we've realized there's a huge amount of variability in the quality of fruit from different plants. This may have been a seedling. I think this may also be Prince Consort, which as time goes on, I'm less and less excited about. They're lovely, they're wonderful, but compared to some of the larger fruited varieties we have, and some of the sweeter varieties, it's not that much of an amazing flavor, and it's growing immensely and also starting to lean over pathways. And so today I started cutting through, basically shaving, almost like making a vertical hedge by cutting back these black currants in their peak fruit. We're going to send this stem and all into the chicken yard. I suspect they will enjoy it. I also feel like what we can do is harvest this in this way and hang it upside down in the chicken yard above them so that as they ripen deeper and deeper, they can drop the fruit. So it's like a little vending machine or dispensal unit. And so I used to be very, very precious about all of our currants, but I'm realizing there's value in overplanting a bit and then doing some thinning and selection work in the future, regain your walkways and obtain some really beautiful yields. If I look at it from this side, you can get the sense of what we're dealing with. I am in the middle of a walkway right here, believe it or not. Neither Sasha nor I seem to do a great job of keeping a very kempt, tight, clean, organized garden. I think that's for the best overall. But if I were to shave back the bloody dock, cut back some of the other vegetation, the apple that's been damaged by spongy moth, and that black currant, I feel like we'd get a really nice access through here. And the opening of that pathway would almost certainly translate into a more high likelihood that beds like this, where we've got husk cherries and some dye plants and some other beings that have kind of gotten lost to the weediness of this bed, more likely that we can come over here and actually tend to it. So I tend to reclaim pathways starting at the entrance of a garden and slowly work my way in so we can get access deeper in. But let me cut a little bit more of this currant and get that shape back. This sort of hacking through a currant is not exactly how I would want to go about it if it was a precious currant that I cared about, and especially if it was a very young currant. As they're getting established, I really don't want to cut them mid-season. This is one that I do think, in the grand scheme, being so close to the entrance, we will almost certainly dig this out. I probably will transplant this into the chicken yard, let them have all of the fruit from this. I don't want to destroy this plant by any stretch, but I don't want it to take up zone 1, zone 2 prime real estate on our main flow of coming into the garden space. So cutting this back right now is going to make it easier to transplant in the fall anyway, and generates so much fruit. I could have gone through with big loppers or even an electric thing, just hedge trimmers. I find there's always value, especially in a garden, to start with small tools. This is the Okatsune. I talked about this in another video. I really love these pruners. If you can find them on eBay or something other than Amazon, I'd hope you can get them. The reason I like using these is it gives you the opportunity as you're snipping to avoid damaging things like that. So that's a bird's nest. It does not look like there's any eggs in there at this point, so it's been finished. I think that was a catbird nest. I about a week or two ago noticed they were always yelling around here. And so there's another value of having nice shrubs in the landscape is they make housing for birds. Pretty wonderful, and they get to eat that fruit too. So I'll be not cutting any further there, but just shaving in this area. Coming into the garden now, as I round the corner, this pathway is a little bit more open. It wasn't an incredibly destructive prune. I don't think I need to go any further. I can focus on doing a harvest with folks in the next few days, and we can actually get deeper into the bush to harvest these. Still very worthwhile to harvest for food or for medicine or for wine or jam, all the different things. But for now, we've got a little bit of a better pathway. Now the question is, what do the chickens think of all these berries on the stalk? Currant on the cob. Could have pruned so much more than this, but this is actually a pretty nice amount to experiment with, and it's the bare minimum I needed in order to get that walkway. But I wish you could smell what this smells like. It's so aromatic and rich. Black currant flavor is like no other. It's an acquired taste for a lot of folks. Very musky. It's so wonderful. And a little shaking of the loosest ones. The hens are scooping up everyone they can get. Let's see what they think if I put it right down. Some of these are the newer hens. I don't think they've ever met black currant. They came out of a pretty rough egg-laying situation, so this might be a new thing for them. Our older flock will take every single black currant they can from the plants that are in here. We have some varieties planted here and on the north side of that high tunnel, and we do not get a single fruit, and that is by design. But the idea of bringing our hens a fruit fodder feels pretty fun. And so then the question is, what does it look like to take some of these that have less than fully ripe fruit and yeah, I might do a bunch of this. So it's a slow deposit of pleasurable little super ripe warm fruits over the next few days and weeks. What a lovely yield. Let me get a few set up. Some of them, I think they need to be shown that it's a fruit. And once they know, they're in. It's just foreign enough for them for now. There's the self-serve buffet style. We'll keep all those right at hen height. They can just pick them ripe or underripe. And as the days go a little bit longer, to concentrate the sugars too. So each one they don't eat now will just get nicer for them over the next few days. We've got a ton of wild birds that live in orbit of this chicken yard. So there might be some value in hanging some in a way where as they ripen they can fall to the hens, but in the meantime the smaller birds can get access to them without being in competition with the hens. Although everybody seems to get along pretty well in here. Maybe this is like a wild bird first, chicken second sort of vibe. And it is so convenient with the chicken wire fencing and the form of these stalks. I just push it up till it jams and it seems like it does not want to fall out. I think this might be a new path forward. I imagine this now being all currants and elderberry filled out over the weeks to come. We can put some over the lid of this water tank so that as they ripen, they make a nice little drum sound. Let the chickens know there's a snack ready. Exploring the idea of a management move that needs to happen in the landscape, translating up and into a harvest that's of value for other creatures in the landscape or other plants that you have. So your harvest and your management become intertwined. That sort of design pathway is a real key component of permaculture, and exploring that idea with the pruning of an old variety of blackcurrant that we're not super thrilled with, sending that bounty to the chicken yard in a couple different strategies, really opens up my eyes to getting into a deeper level of management, because now it feels like harvest to think about cutting back some of these elderberries that have leaned so far over to the north that they've completely blocked this garden bed. I think when these ripen, rather than harvesting them for our purposes, we'll cut them back so we get more light to that bed and weave them into the fence of the chicken yard so they can slowly drop little beautiful purple nibblings of food and medicine for them. The more pleasure other elements can get out of the system through the work that you're doing, the more likely it is that you're motivated to do it, at least for me. That's all I got for now in this video. We'll let the hens have some fun down in there and enjoy themselves. Let me know if you have some questions about this. We'll keep sharing what we're exploring, adding into the chicken yard to give them pleasure and food and enjoyment. Let us know what sort of crops this time of year are your hens getting a huge amount of pleasure from. And thank you for watching.